Welcome to another spectacularly spooky night where there are ghoulish ghosties, wicked witches, and, of course, vicious vampires that will surely give you a fright tonight.
Oh, wait. Halloween is over. Just like the last video. But we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about how rendering the video in After Effects kept fucking me up and fucking off, but we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. We just pretend that everything went according to plan and not how Adobe After Effects is a fucking little bit. I'm glad we started our Darkstalkers series on Halloween, but now it's November and it's time to think about Thanksgiving. And I can think of no better subject than Darkstalkers. Sorry for my potty mouth. Like I said before, it's the month of Thanksgiving, the month of turkeys. So it's more than appropriate for some foul language. And there'll be plenty of that in the chat since we are not starting on the drawing just yet.
What? You didn't even let me, oh my god!
But like I said in the last video, we're not jumping in it right away. We're doing our research. And the reason why is twofold. First of all, we don't want it looking like some bad DeviantArt OC, and we certainly don't want it looking like a wokey retelling the way Hollywood or video game Hollywood would do.
It's time for another good idea, bad idea.
No one wants to look like 343 Industries, man. It's bad enough to break the one golden rule to see Master Chief's face. But to take it a step further and see his bare ass, this is way too far.
But I'm just going to assume it's something to do with homosexuality and atheism or something.
Why? Why?
Bad idea.
Not to mention sloppily introducing retcon book characters into the video game without properly introducing them into the video game series, taking an egregious amount of time to update the game's series content, turning the game into Fortnite, and woke shit. See, it's us humans that are the real enemy. Even their bottom bitches, the game journos, are desperately trying to save this dumpster fire. And don't even get me started on Overwatch. Oh no. Please, no, no, no. Why can't they give the game back to people that actually know what they're doing? You know, men, preferably ones that like the military.
Good idea.
Thanks, Microsoft. They put the soft in Microsoft.
Bad idea.
Or we could be like Disney, where they give every IP they consume the Mickey Mouse Hauntavirus. Pixar is looking like Steven Universe. Muppets are not funny. The multiverse is a confusing nightmare of boring. She-Hulk is twerking. And of course, Star Wars, where they retconned everything because Kathleen Kennedy says there was no lore outside of the Star Wars movies.
What?
Yeah, can't find it anywhere. Where's Mara Jade Skywalker? But hey, at least they're replacing the non-existent timeline with something good, right?
Centuries before the rise of the Empire, prosperity, pioneering, and adventure marked the era of the High Republic. Leox Jossi is the eccentric pilot of a vessel known simply as the Vessel, co-piloted by Appy Hollow and navigated by Geode, who appears to be a rock. Who appears to be a rock, a rock, a rock.
Notice how the Force is female there.
Bad idea.
Hollywood is just DeviantArt fanfic with money now. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, 343 Industries sucks. But, as my tirade just proves my point on how imperative it is to know your shit.
Good idea.
Know the history of the world before making your own OC, or else it'll just look like dog shit. The second reason for all this research on Darkstalkers is that Darkstalkers' story is confusing. Everything about it, from its lore, game mechanics, to its continuity, to even its naming of characters, and even its own name, is a cluster-fucking gobbledygooky nightmare dump. Even on who created Darkstalkers is indecisive on who did it first. Like a chicken or the egg syndrome. Like, what the heck? Darkstalkers contradicts everything about itself. It's like everyone involved had no idea what they were doing throughout the entire process of making this thing and accidentally stumbled onto making a gorgeous game series. This is a nightmare to unravel in this game and this lore and everything about it. However, I did the research, so you don't have to. But once you watch this series and see me make sense of it all by going through how it all began, the inspirations of this game, going through the lore of the world, and a bit of the characters, not their entire backstories, I ain't a masochist. Dissecting the personality of the characters themselves, the game, the animation, the backgrounds, and the music, and going through the tone of the game, I hope you'll get a better understanding of why it'll take 10 episodes. I would also hope y'all will understand why it separates itself from most modern AAA titles, and why it's so fucking confusing. So let's just jump in. Let's go with who created it first. Let's start by talking about Capcom's very own video game designer, director, and producer, Yoshihiko Akitomo, aka Kihaji Okamoto. And if you're wondering who he is, well, he's a very prominent game designer and producer that's worked on, well, here's just a few notable ones. As he discusses the man that brought American pop culture to Capcom, Katsuya Akitomo, aka Shaky. This guy's kind of an unknown hero at Capcom, but do pay attention to this because you might find this little bit of lore interesting, and it does play relevance to our topic.
僕が大阪の C 社時代に採用した人材の話で、今はちょっとね、有名になってる秋友克也っていう人間を昔採用したことがありますっていう。僕はシェイキーって呼んでるんですけど、なんでかって言ったらですね、こうね、常にこうやって手がね、震えてるんですよ。手がシェイクしてるからシェイキーっていうあだ名をつけたんですけど、関西の有名な大学の英文学科かなんか出てて、もともとね、確かね、デザイナーとして入ってきてるんですよ。どう言えばいいんですかね。変わったやつなんですよ。このシェイキー、英文学科出てるんで、英語はかなりいけるんですけど、耳が悪くてですね、ちゃんと英語も聞き取れないらしくて、喋りは下手くそなんですね。でも、文章読まして書かしたらとんでもないです。日本語もとんでもないです。めちゃめちゃうまい。本人が目指したのは美文化って言ってました。美しい文を書く家、美文化。めっちゃ綺麗、文章が。で、その後そういう仕事をすることになるんですけど、その怪人シェイキーの話をしていきたいと思います。日本人じゃないからね、見た目が。太い毛がテンパーなんですよ。で、ここがね、張り出してて、ドーンとね。鼻がガッと大きくて、目がガーッと大きくて、唇バーッと大きいんですよ。似顔絵がね、どっかに出たと思いますけど、シェイキーこんな顔してます。本人が描いてますからね。本人が描いた顔、俺こんなです。ね、本人が描いてるので、よく描いてます。こんな優しい顔してないですから。トルコ人なのか、アラブ人なのか、メキシコ人なのか、みたいな。つまり国籍はわからんんですね。自称純日本人って言ってました。という、そういう、すごいやばそうなやつです。で、こいつはね、とんでもない才能に溢れてたんですね。どういうことをやったかっていうとね、彼はカプコンの筋肉の描き方の質を根本的に変えた男。今でこそ有名だと思うんですけど、スパイダーマンの敵でベノムっているじゃないですか。黒いやつね。うわーって下がベローって出るやつですよ。あいつのフィギュアを個人的に輸入したんですよ。その時のフィギュアがすんごい出来よくって、これが 今アメリカで一番ちゃんと筋肉かけてるフィギュアですよみたいな。筋肉がこういう風になってるんだみたいな。カプコンって絵がうまいとか筋肉上手に描いてるみたいなイメージがあると思うんですけど、それはこの男がそれを持ち込んで布教活動したから。筋肉はこう描くべきだっつって。ムッキムキとバッキバキになっていったんですね。それの影響が強く出てっていうことです。その当時カプコンって、ストリートファイター2のシリーズものをこううまくこう変換しながら売っている時だったと思うんですけど、シェイキーが、サンディエゴのコミックコンベンションに出張で行った時があって、アメリカ人は未だにフランケンシュタインとかヴァンパイアとか狼男とかを大好きなんですよって言うんですよ。なるほどと。ほうほうほうほうつって。で、そこから彼の話は面白くて、版権料を払うのも嫌だし、版権があるとチェックも厳しくってめんどくさいから、なしで世界的に有名なキャラクターを使いませんか。皆さんお気づきだと思います。今ヴァンパイアっていうゲームをカプコンが出したんですよ。それのきっかけになる企画を一キャラクターデザイナーであったシェイキーが勝手に持ち込んできて、こんな企画でやってみませんか。僕のとこ持ち込んでやろうって言ってアキマンのところに持って行ってデザインさせてだったと思います。で、このシェイキーが頑張ってくれて作ってヒットシリーズができたので。
And he's also the guy who kind of like told Capcom like, hey, like here's why American comic books are cool. You know, so he was really instrumental to Marvel superheroes.
Yeah,
and everything.
I remember this story.
X-Men, Children of the Atom.
There was a dude at Capcom, that was like obsessed with American comic books, and if it wasn't for him, Capcom would have never signed on for any of the Marvel licenses at all.
まず肉体が、ベノムスーツ着てるとはいえ、ムキムキの体してるんで、筋肉をちゃんと描くっていうところはすごい、丁寧に。当時開発フロアにベノムのフィギュアがいろんな机の上に置いてあったんですね。カプコンの伝統じゃないですけど、なんかみんな持ってるんですよ、ベノムのフィギュアって。こういうポーズしたやつで、それをずっとこう見てきたっていうのもあったので、筋肉の勉強になるっていうのでみんな買ってたんですよ。で、いざそのキャラ作んなきゃいけないっていうのと、ずっとこう見てきたフィギュアのクオリティは。
That's pretty neat.
Now you might be thinking, well, that's easy to follow. That's easy to understand. Wrong! Dead wrong. Because now, let's get to Capcom of America's former consultant, designer, and producer, Alex Jimenez.
They came to us after Street Fighter 2 had done well that summer. They were like, we have this engine that no one else has. We have the head-to-head combat system. And they literally looked at us and then go, what can we do with it? To which James and I were both like, what, are you kidding me? What could you not do with this? I wanted to do Universal movie monsters. I'm a big fan of the old Universal movie monsters. And they were like, well, they don't want to license them, so we'll just make our own. So I kind of whipped up the Darkstalkers in about an hour or so. I wrote their backgrounds and whatnot. The only one that they had a problem with the Darkstalkers, they had two problems. Was originally, Morrigan was supposed to be a female vampire. And I changed her to a succubus. So we already got a vampire there. That's not a succubus. And they didn't know what a succubus was. Like, what's a succubus? Don't forget, I'm pitching this to the Japanese. So it's like it's a kind of female demon that kills men by screwing them to death. And they were like, oh yeah, that'd be cool. Okay, yeah. Then suddenly they were all for it, The only battle I lost with Darkstalkers was the original proposal I had for Felicia was a lot different than what they went with. I had originally envisioned Felicia to be, I wanted her to come from Africa. I wanted her to be this really beautiful, tall Maasai woman, with short cropped hair who would fight. She had really, really long legs, really tall. And then when her special move, she would jump into you and shapeshift into a Black Panther and land on you and claw you up and flip that, She would shapeshift back and forth. They sent me back Felicia, the little white kitty cat, which was like, you know, I was like, all right, well, can't win all of them, so we'll go with that one.
Hot for spicy meat. Yeah, boy.
Now, I know two different people didn't converge into one timeline and create Darkstalkers. We don't live in multiverses. Hallelujah!
Wait, you dig on multiverses?
No!
I hate multiverses. So, who created them first? Was it Akitomo or Alex? Well, the short and the long answer is, yes?
Huh?
So here's the sitch. My best guess is at the time, Capcom's only fighting IP was Street Fighter, and they did so many versions of Street Fighter 2. Not only that, the only fighting games at the time were focused on fighters, warriors, and brawlers, with a few weird characters sprinkled in there just for good measure. Plus, since Capcom only did at the time were 80s action-themed heroes and wrestlers, not to mention all that was stated prior, their brain was kinda creatively stuck there. I can possibly bet they were asking the question, what do we do that's not our rivals? Well, since Akitomo was a huge fan of American comics in the 90s, and the Alex story was probably in line at the time the OG Capcom of Japan went to team up with Capcom of America to seal the deal with the Marvel IPs, which were dirt cheap at the time as well, to make X-Men Children of the Atom. Bet. I bet Akitomo and the boys were looking at this new CPS2 arcade hardware and just asked a fresh pair of eyes what they would do. And that's where Alex said, "What could you not do with it?" Remember, Darkstalkers was made in 1994, making this Capcom's only second fighting game IP. And the idea probably spawned in 1993, so the concept of fighting games was brand spanking new in the first place. Then Akitomo went to Japan and fleshed out the idea with his Capcom running crew. But that whole story proves an imperative point, that Capcom of America and Japan worked really well together at that time. This will lead to the next big positive about Darkstalkers' development, the American influence. Capcom of America and Capcom of Japan had a good marital relationship going that they kind of just gelled when it came to ideas, creating all kinds of wonderful things for Capcom. Well, they used to.
Welcome to the world of Street Fighter! Are you a fighter looking for your next challenge? Or just passing through on your journey?
I don't know what that is. He just said I'm a male hermaphrodite or hermaphrodite.
I said what in the butt. I said what in the butt.
Brother,
But I'm just going to assume it's something to do with homosexuality and atheism or something.
Now, it's no big surprise that America has been influenced by animanga.
Does Samuel L. Jackson like anime?
Yes, I do. Hentai too.
And it's been influenced by animanga so much now that I hate myself.
I wish I could reach them.
The Akira slide.
But the real interesting take is just how much Japanese media is influenced by American media. Like the wild connection that Disney influenced the father of animanga, Osamu Tezuka, which influenced an entire generation of animanga artists, which then influenced Disney. A perfect circle. It's crazy how much our culture influenced theirs. The Big O was inspired by Batman the Animated Series, My Hero Academia, and One Punch Man were inspired by Marvel and DC, and Donald Trump.
Grab him by the pussy.
And even Berserk was inspired by Clive Barker's own Hellraiser. Heck, Contra's own two main characters were inspired by Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone.
Hey, it's an alien!
Even Capcom's own Street Fighter and Final Fight are based off of American action movies. Well, I mean, Final Fight was based off of Double Dragon, which was based off of American action movies, so close enough. I still feel patriotic. But here's where the concept art goes crazy for Darkstalkers, and this is the stuff that no one has ever said before on YouTube. I guarantee it. For it's not just Universal monster movies that inspired Darkstalkers. If you were to look at the concept art of all the characters, you'd see Morrigan inspired by Vampirella, Dimitri inspired by Spawn, and Lord Raptor inspired by Eddie from Iron Maiden. It's flippin' wild how much went into Darkstalkers. So we got a lot of playroom here in creating our OC. And as an American with American influences, my stuff isn't counted out. But while America influenced Capcom big time, we can't forget what other country influenced them, and that's their home turf, Japan. So let's look at the time. Oh gosh. We gotta put a pin in this. I'm sorry. But there's a lot of meat on this bone, and we'll have to get back to that on a later date. So yeah, peace.
The end.
Please come back for the sequel. I promise. We'll create the OC, and she'll be a hot babe. I promise we'll be drawing hot babe soon.
I'm looking for an internet or a real life girlfriend